Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Grateful for the opportunity to be the head football coach at the University of Missouri and blessed to coach with a great group of players and staff and fans. And so really appreciative this week and hope everybody has a great holiday time with their family, friends, and loved ones. Obviously very disappointed in the result in Norman on Saturday. Didn't play our best in all three phases, had things that we could have done, specific things that we talked about needing to do in order to win that game, and we didn't get it done. I thought our defense played with great effort and tenacity and kept us in the game all game, but the other two phases didn't do nearly enough to give us that chance. But we have moved on. We are on to Arkansas Prep in the final game of this season and preparing for our bowl game. We are not discouraged. We know that we're a good football team, and we know that we've got a lot left to play for. Arkansas has really faced a lot of adversity this year, but they are a very dangerous team as been able to tell through the point differential, the number of close games that they've played, the style of offense that Coach Petrino has put together, and so it's going to be a real challenge. Obviously for them it's senior night, and it's an opportunity to win a trophy, and so we know we're going to get their best. I would like to say, I have a lot of respect for Coach Pittman and believe that he did a really nice job at the University of Arkansas. I believe he deserves a lot of praise for the job he did there. When he took over that job, it was in a really tough spot, and Coach Pittman went in there and got some really good results. I think he was 3-0 in bowl games. I remember specifically in 21 beating Texas A&M and us all in the same season, and LSU all in the same season. He had some highs and obviously did not end the way he wanted it to, but I do believe he left that job in much better shape than when he found it. I think Coach Petrino has performed admirably in a very difficult situation. I think he has done a really good job holding that team together. That team fights. That team plays really hard, and they are very explosive on offense. I think their quarterback is as good a quarterback as there is in the country. I believe he leads the SEC in total yardage. I think he is a tremendous player. I think their running back is an excellent player, a pro. They did a great job in their scouting department getting him, recruiting him, and finding him from New Mexico State. And I think they've got some dangerous weapons at both the tight end and the wide receiver room. Defensively, Quincy Rhodes is a real problem. He's as good a defensive end as there is in this league. I think they do an excellent job of featuring him and utilizing him in a lot of different ways. And then on special teams, Coach Fountain does an excellent job, consistent as always in that phase. So, it's an opportunity to compete for the Battle Line rivalry, something that we take very seriously around here. And we look forward to traveling down to Fayetteville on Saturday and competing at 2:30. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Starting out here with Gabe.
Yeah, Eli, and I may have a follow-up, but when you look at the passing game this year, have you gotten out of that part of your offense what you expected or hoped to get out of it?
I think there's a lot of room for improvement in our passing game. Obviously, at critical moments, I shouldn't say critical moments. During the moments in the game where we need to be able to rely on that, I don't think it's come through for us the way we wanted it to. But we still got an opportunity in the last two games to get that fixed, and so that's what we're working on. And so that's something that we'll continue to push. I think there's been some highs, and then there's been some lows. I think the inconsistency and injuries at quarterback have played some effect on that, but not consistent enough would be my response. And you do have a follow-up. Go ahead.
I do. Is there anything specific in that? Like, can you point to any particular thing that's led to that, or is it a variety of issues?
I'm not into reflection and all that stuff. We're into week to week. What do we got to do to win this week? What do we have to do to improve? Where are the things that we can improve? At the end of the season, we'll look holistically at hey, what is it? What is the exact root cause of this, and how do we fix it? But that's not where we're at right now.
Coach, similar vein with the offense, when you talk about it lacking creativity at times, then what is it that you want to see injected tangibly? And also, what is it that you see from the way other teams play you that kind of tells you that's lacking sometimes?
I think there's a style of defense that has been played against us the last four games that's carried over. And if somebody's going to play extra hat in the box and play man-to-man and you can't figure out how to stop, get people open or create explosive plays, then that lacks, what we need to do in order to be successful. So, ultimately that's what I judge it on. And we were able to create enough movement at the line of scrimmage versus Mississippi State to allow our running backs to get free. The first 2 drives of the game, we were creating, enough movement for our running backs to get movement, but, for whatever reason, they were able to fix that, and we really didn't have a counterpunch. And ultimately, as, coaches, we got to have a counterpunch, and that's what we're working to make sure we have, and didn't get it done. Yeah.
Cal, it seems that field goal protection has been a bit of a recurring issue of late. What's in your eyes is happening on that side, and is it solvable over the next couple of games that you have?
Yeah, it's called Operation Time. We had some issues in field goal protection early in the season on internal pressure. That was fixed, not been a problem since. We have had issues on edge protection. There's only so many people that you can have on the line of scrimmage, and then it becomes a matter of time. How much time does it take somebody to get from point A to point B? And our timing mechanism is just not been fast enough, and that is the responsibility of everybody involved to get that fixed. And we made an adjustment with a different kicker, and the timing was easily made. So that's something we got to continue to work on. It's been a point of emphasis. And it's just, when you're dealing with young players in the moment and they want to make it, other things slow down. And that can't happen. It's all got to work together at the right speed in order for us to be effective.
On the offensive creativity point, what have conversations looked like this week as you're trying to get the offense to look more the way you want it to look?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody's disappointed with the result. Everybody's been disappointed with our inability to score, specifically in that game and in other games like it. So we got to do a better job of having answers, being able to create explosives in the pass game, and not become one-dimensional. So that's what we're working on. It's at the end of all of the conversation about creativity, blah, 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 3 of 15 does not keep you on the field enough to call plays and develop a rhythm. So it comes down to whether we're talking about Vanderbilt, whether we're talking about A&M, whether we're talking about Alabama, whether we're talking about Oklahoma. 3rd downs. I mean, that's it. You can't give Ahmad Hardy the ball enough if on 3rd down you can't convert. Bottom line. So we have to do a better job of winning situational football in order to be successful, and that's something that we've done really well in the games that we win. And it's a point of, it's a point of issue in the games that we haven't won.
Coach, you referenced Arkansas having been in a lot of tight games, especially over the last 6 to 7 weeks. So what are some of the things that you've seen from Green that have allowed him to take that next step this year, and which will test your defense Saturday?
Yeah, he's a really difficult test for our defense. Does an excellent job, I think, understanding the system. 2 years in Coach Petrino's offensive system, you always see a jump at the quarterback position. I think it's the effectiveness of which Coach Petrino teaches. They start thinking like him. Coach Petrino has been awesome to me. I was a high school football coach in Arkansas. Got a chance to go down to Arkansas and spend time with their staff, watch practice, worked camp. When he was here, we had him come speak at our clinic. I went down and spent an afternoon down there just learning. I mean, he does an unbelievable job with his offensive system. And I think when a quarterback knows hey, if they do this, then we're going to do this. These are the plays that attack this coverage. And then the issue with Green is that when you play man-to-man, his scramble ability is as good as anybody in the country. He has a reminder of me as a growing up as an Arkansas fan. He reminds me a lot of Matt Jones. Matt Jones was this big, could really throw, but you always didn't know how fast he was, and then he would take off running and nobody catch him. That's very similar to Green.
Eli, after looking back at the tape, what did you like about the way Bo kind of handled coming back in, after that injury? What do you think the next step is for him this week?
Yeah, I thought he was courageous. Didn't have any issues taking off running. I thought he did a nice job of understanding the environment and the system and putting us in the right situation. We knew we needed to be in the game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win it. Ultimately, we didn't do enough in the third quarter. I thought our defense kept giving us opportunities, didn't get any type of movement there. But we have the play, the fourth down, that if that gets connected between Bo and Cam, not Cam, Bo and Kev, then you're sitting in a situation where it's a one-score game. We have all our timeouts, and I think there was 6 minutes left, and you're right where you need to be. So we didn't make it. We didn't make that connection, and ultimately that's on me to find that 2 yards. And so that's what we're going to be working on. But I was proud of the way he played.
Just wondering if you had any thoughts on the changing of the transfer portal dates and the removal of the spring portal, if that changes anything to clear up the calendar.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's a crazy question because I've been working on this all morning. In one sense, it's going to be really good because you only have to deal with the madness and the negotiations and all that one time. In another sense, it's terrible. Nobody wants to hear coaches complain, and I totally understand that. But at some point, we have to value our input enough to figure out this calendar that makes it worthwhile for everybody and the ability for both student athletes, fans, coaches, administration, to not be placed under all this stress at the same time. The issue is going to be now is we're going to have to sign an 85-man roster in a 2-week window, and that's it. And so you have spring practice, somebody gets injured or dinged up, you can't replace them. Somebody, screws up, and all of a sudden you have to remove them from your team for whatever reason. You are dealing with young men, you can't replace them. And the pro model, the pro system, they have free agency, they have waiver wires. You can go sign players at any point. That's why they can have a roster of 42 and then practice squad players. And there's an NFL team having kicking tryouts this weekend. Harrison Mevis was hanging out, getting ready to be on the sideline for the Texas A&M game. The next day he's at the Rams. So there's all ways to replenish your roster. We don't have that. And so that's a long time to go from January to August with any inability to fix or change or manage a roster. And I understand it because it's progress. It's better than it was because it was the day after your season. Now we've pushed some time so you can retain your roster, but it's still a long, long way from perfect. Ultimately, we are still based off of an academic calendar. And rightfully so, but that academic calendar is really restrictive to the fundamental way that college football is being run. And whether we're talking about the playoffs being jacked up or the portal or coaching transitions, all of this stuff, man, there is not a better sport in the country than college football. And for whatever reason, we just keep shooting ourselves in the foot with how we manage it. It's mind-blowing to me.
Sorry, we'll probably come back to that. But
Great. Good. Maybe I'll get posted on Twitter again today because y'all asked these questions. Fortunately, we don't have people who'll take it out of context.
Coach, I'll switch to the defensive line. I was going to ask you about what kind of growth have you seen in leadership out of Chris McClellan this year?
Yeah.
And just what kind of impact have you made or seen out of him over the last 2 years?
Man, you want to talk about a guy who's really transformed his career, even from last year to this year, being consistent in his approach, being a very reliable football player, being a guy who, we were really worried about with Christian Williams leaving that room, who was undoubtedly the leader, who was going to replace that leadership. Chris texts everybody, make sure they're at weights on time, make sure they're in the meetings on time, holds those guys accountable. He's one of the reasons we bounce back so well as a football team. because he sets the tone for being consistent, and really proud of him. Think he's had a heck of a year.
Two more. Eli. Coach, a different big picture topic that
Okay.
starts here next week. Sports betting becomes legalized in Missouri next week. Just curious, how do you talk about that with your players, and just what have you noticed in your role over the last few years as this has become more prevalent?
Yeah, we have tried to educate our players as best we can about sports betting. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, it was legal for NCAA players to bet on pro sports. That's been retracted. I hope everybody got the memo on that. But then it's opening up and legal. Betting has become a very important part of society. I shouldn't say important. Very, very prevalent part of society. And in fact, I think that's become more, to some fans, more important than the actual result of the game, which I think is a little bit dangerous. And I think it's, just got to be very conscious and careful with the I don't know if sanctity is the right word, but the purity of the game, because it's being interfered with, and probably always has at some point, in professional sports, but now it's creeping into college sports, and it's becoming very dangerous situation for people to get caught up in. And now with more and more money within the system, it's going to be something. It's going to be challenging for everybody to handle responsibly.
Finish up here in the middle.
I'll be the one to take us back to the portal question then.
Okay.
Do you think, not asking if you have a solution right now, but do you think there is a way that on an academic timeline, this can move more toward perfect? When you need to have guys enrolled, you need to, worry about all of that with a playoff that runs into second semester. Is there a way with that timeline that you believe this can move to a situation that could be close to perfect, or would it have to go to more of the pro setup like you were talking about with consistent open free agency?
The only way is there for it to be a spring waiver opportunity. In the summer, there's a summer waiver opportunity where players can work out and not attend class as long as they're in good academic standing. I think there would be a way to do that where the transfer opportunity was from February 1 to February 15th. And then there would be no academic restrictions. The issue with that right now is that some people are on quarter systems, and so there would be a advantage for people on quarter systems to get people in on March. But if you had a system that said, hey, as long as you're in good academic standing, which would again promote academics, you could sit out potentially one semester for your transfer. You would have to enroll in the summer, and you'd have to make sure your hours were where they needed to be, progress towards degree or some version of that, so that, you could be in a situation. Again, one of the things that is occurring with all the transfers is inability to get progress towards degree and people to graduate within the 4-year cycle. Again, if you had to have this many hours, you had to have this many credits, you're in academic standing, and you decided that, hey, it's best for your interest to transfer, you could sit out this semester, be able to be a part of the program, get involved, participate in spring practice. You got to realize education for us, it's chase two dreams. Education is as an important part of our process and program as anything, but it isn't at the cost of their football skills. If you can play football at an elite level in the SEC, you have a chance to go pro. And so you want to be able to go pro in 2 sports, NCAA, right? That's what the whole thing was in those commercials. So there has to be some give and take, some flexibility. If it ends up being that you have to wait until the end of spring, well, you've got players sitting out an entire 5-month cycle, which is not good for player development and really inhibits their ability to maximize their potential as a player. And so, there's a lot of issues. I think there could be solutions, but we get caught up in this game of telephone where coaches come up with solutions and then they have to pass it along to the commissioners, but by way of athletic directors and presidents, and by the time you get all the different aspects, the original message is convoluted. I think there's a way to do it, but they're going to have to form a committee.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
MIC.